Welcome to the UCM Interface Bible Study Podcast. Isa itong Bible study podcast by Pinoys for Pinoys. Just friends around the table, conversational lang, na inductive, aka expository style. Hindi kami experts, most of us are young professionals, but we do our best to study context and let scripture speak for itself. We go book by book, but we also have special study topics once in a while. But before we start, salamat, thanks for joining us, and kung trip nyo itong ginagawa namin, please subscribe. And we are going to be discussing Esther 2. Okay, so now we've got Rainier.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, this is Ben.
Ben.
And this is Prissy. Hey.
Yeah. Prissy is a dentist.
Dental student. On the way there. Aspiring.
Malapit na.
Dental student.
Saan ka nga nag-aaral, Prissy?
Sa UP Manila.
Yay, malapit na.
God's timing. God's timing.
And then this is Gutch. So we are going to be discussing Esther 2. But before that, let's recap previously on Esther.
Siguro isang maalala natin dun sa Esther chapter 1, yung 180-day feast na pinagmalaki ni King Xerxes. And this is because he was attracting people, inviting people to join his campaign para lumaban sa gera. Which unfortunately, natalo naman siya.
Right.
Tapos isa pang nangyari dito, yung during the party, na mga they're all men, party ni Xerxes, pinatawag si Queen Vashti.
She was hosting another party.
Who was hosting a different party for women. Kaso, ang nangyari, sabi ni Queen Vashti, ayokong pumunta dyan. Yeah, gano'n. Kaya ngayon, nagalit ngayon ng hari. And in this episode, this is where we see how powerful people wield their power and influence, gagamitin ng batas para lang matupad yung mga gusto nilang gawin. And so Queen Vashti, as a consequence of her disobedience, lost her position as queen.
Okay. Yep. Again, the big chunks would be the party, and then the Vashti scandal, and then yung decree that they did after they...
And the decree says that all wives must submit to their husbands. Kumbaga pinilit ang pagrespeto dun sa husbands.
Which is kind of weird.
Imposed on. Weird yun eh. Yeah.
They were definitely drunk.
Pero isang magandang tanong nga dito, hinahanap natin yung presence ni God. And up to this point, we can't seem to find God, right, in the story. He's definitely here at the very beginning of chapter 1, pero minsan ang hirap hanapin. So, isa to sa mga themes ng Esther na hahanapin natin. And we will discover how God is at work, even though He's not even mentioned, not even once in this book.
All right, so that's what happened on Esther 1. And then ngayon, ano yung chunks for Esther 2? Ben is going to be leading the discussion for this one. Before we start, why don't we go through our reading? And here we go. Esther 2. Later, when King Xerxes' fury had subsided, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what he had decreed about her. Then the king's personal attendants proposed, "Let a search be made for beautiful young virgins of the king. Let the king appoint commissioners in every province of his realm to bring all these beautiful young women into the harem at the citadel of Susa. Let them be placed under the care of Haggai, the king's eunuch, who is in charge of the women, and let beauty treatments be given to them. Then let the young woman who pleases the king be queen instead of Vashti." This advice appealed to the king, and he followed it. Now there was in the citadel of Susa a Jew of the tribe of Benjamin, named Mordecai, son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, who had been carried into exile from Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, among those taken captive with Jehoiakim, king of Judah. Mordecai had a cousin named Hadassah, whom he had brought up because she had neither father nor mother. This young woman, who was also known as Esther, had a lovely figure and was beautiful. Mordecai had taken her as his own daughter when her father and mother died. When the king's order and edict had been proclaimed, many young women were brought to the citadel of Susa and put under the care of Haggai. Esther also was taken to the king's palace and entrusted to Haggai, who had charge of the harem. She pleased him and won his favor. Immediately, he provided her with her beauty treatments and special food. He assigned to her 7 female attendants selected from the king's palace and moved her and her attendants into the best place in the harem. Esther had not revealed her nationality and family background because Mordecai had forbidden her to do so.
every day, he walked back and forth near the courtyard of the harem to find out how Esther was and what was happening to her. Before the young woman's turn came to go into King Xerxes, she had to complete 12 months of beauty treatments prescribed for the women, 6 months with oil of myrrh and 6 with perfumes and cosmetics. And this is how she would go to the king. Anything she wanted was given her to take with her from the harem to the king's palace. In the evening, she would go there and in the morning return to another part of the harem, to the care of Shazgaz, the king's eunuch, who was in charge of the concubines. She would not return to the king unless he was pleased with her and summoned her by name. When the turn came for Esther, the young woman Mordecai had adopted, the daughter of his uncle Abihail, to go to the king, she asked for nothing other than what Hegai, the king's eunuch who was in charge of the harem, suggested. And Esther won the favor of everyone who saw her. She was taken to King Xerxes in the royal residence in the 10th month, the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. Now the king was attracted to Esther more than to any of the other women, and she won his favor and approval more than any of the other virgins. So he set a royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. And the king gave a great banquet, Esther's banquet, for all his nobles and officials. He proclaimed a holiday throughout the provinces and distributed gifts with royal liberality. When the virgins were assembled the second time, Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate. But Esther had kept secret her family background and nationality, just as Mordecai had told her to do. For she continued to follow Mordecai's instructions as she had done when he was bringing her up. During the time Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, Bigthana and Teresh, 2 of the king's officers who guarded the doorway, became angry and conspired to assassinate King Xerxes. But Mordecai found out about the plot and told Queen Esther, who in turn reported it to the king, giving credit to Mordecai. And when the report was investigated and found to be true, the 2 officials were impaled on poles. All this was recorded in the Book of the Annals, in the presence of the king.
Paano ba yung chunks natin?
First chunk is Xerxes wanting to have a new queen for whatever reason. Then the second chunk is the introduction of Mordecai. And we find that there's a lot of emphasis on Mordecai's lineage. Then the third chunk is when Esther gets chosen to be part of the pool that could become the queen.
Right.
Then the fourth chunk is, well, she found favor in so many people and eventually becomes the queen.
So nanalo siya nung
Beauty
contest.
contest.
Pageant,
Siya ng
yeah.
beauty pageant.
Then the fifth and final chunk is, this is kind of a peak here, is when Mordecai foils a plot to kill King Xerxes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so 5 main chunks.
Yep.
All right, I guess our game. We can proceed to the first one.
All right, the first one, chapter 2 takes off 2 to 3 years after what happened in chapter 1. 2 to 3 years after the banishment of Queen Vashti.
Right. So in the midst of that was the war,
Yeah.
and they lost.
And Xerxes just returned from a failed invasion of
Right.
Greece.
Okay.
So yeah.
So talo na nga.
Talo na.
this
Yeah,
time.
Right.
Talo na
totally.
nga.
They lost
At
the
saka
war
medyo
na.
nawala na siya ng pera nun.
So he'd be really depressed by now.
You'd be really
Oo.
depressed.
I could just imagine.
And Herodotus, the Greek historian, okay, he was describing Xerxes. This is not part of Esther's scripture. This is Herodotus' account. Xerxes was apparently in a state of sexual overindulgence after the defeat. And he was to a point wherein he was getting involved with the wives of some of his officers. So he's in that mental state na at this point.
Kasi nga, natalo siya. Eh, alam naman natin, pag ang tao medyo depressed na ganyan, we all look for some anesthetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe
yeah.
to numb his pain.
Yeah.
And this is how he's dealing with his depression.
So Xerxes back na, diba? We also have to keep in mind na he had to campaign really, really hard, and now he has no face to show for it.
Right.
And a basically depleted bank account. Ubus yung pera eh. So there's this thing about verse 1 that says, after these things, diba? Xerxes remembered Vashti and what she had done and what had been decreed against her. And that was what prompted the decree to make a new harem. There's an interpretation here that says, why do you need the queen at this time? Because he already has concubines.
Right.
If he only wanted physical indulgence, he already has it. But why a
that
queen?
is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think that a queen does for the king in an empire set up?
Magandang PR if you have isang babae na magre-represent din ng kingdom, but she has to be the right woman, di ba?
Yeah, pero if you have like someone new to show off, that really ups your
PR status.
PR status. Yeah.
Okay.
Eh, syempre, kailangan ng branding ngayon.
It needs branding, and you need to have a really, really beautiful queen to show off.
Like
It's
I'm,
like
I'm not such a loser. I have a gal.
Right?
exactly, yeah. Like imagine mo like JFK's Jackie, diba? She was like everyone was swooning over her, the media and everyone,
Right.
just like Princess Diana.
Tama.
And then even with President Obama, Michelle Obama was
Right,
really in the
right.
limelight. Iba eh, parang PR talaga, and it just gets the attention and the approval of the people.
Tama.
Okay.
So Cersei now has a trouble of trying to gain some sort of PR. So after all the stuff that he lost, the war, his pride, his money, he wants to build it up again. Now, he calls on his advisors to let's find a new queen.
The Miss Xerxes contest.
Ito na.
But before Esther touches on that, before the book of Esther touches on that, it suddenly goes to mention this certain Mordecai. Abruptly, biglang, now there was a Jew in Susa, the citadel, whose name was Mordecai. And it goes on the son of Jair, son of Shimei, and so on and so forth. This is very interesting because biglang insert siya eh. Walang flow eh. Then the emphasis here is yung lineage niya. What do you guys think that there's that lineage?
I think just to establish that this guy is a true Jew.
He is a true Jew, true blue Jew, di ba?
Okay.
And then it introduces Esther right after na. Esther is the
His uncle's daughter.
cousin.
Cousin.
And Mordecai has been taking care of Esther since Esther
Kasi
is...
ulila na siya, di ba?
Yeah, ulila na
Yeah.
siya.
Father figure.
Parang he took her as his own daughter.
Yeah.
Now, what happened to Esther? Esther gets drafted. Well, not drafted.
Chosen.
Chosen for the pageant that Xerxes started. The interesting here is when Esther got chosen,
Oh, marami kasing many women were brought to the citadel of Susa at pinaalaga kay Haggai.
Haggai,
Yeah.
the head of the harem.
Right.
And the head of the harem, this is a guy. Haggai's male, but he's a eunuch.
Oo.
Kaya
Wala.
okay lang. Okay
Tabla.
lang. Oo.
Hindi pwede.
So, hindi siya
Hindi niya pwedeng kalawin yung mga girls sa harem.
Right, oo.
Kaya siya in charge doon. At saka, hindi lang naman ito totoo sa Persian Empire. Ang daming mga ancient kingdoms ganyan ang practice.
Yeah,
Talagang,
even in China,
Oo,
the
sa China,
Chinese
that's
emperor
true.
royalty, the inner court, the male of the inner courts are mainly eunuchs.
Yeah.
Kasi they don't want anyone touching their concubines. Yeah.
Okay. Like, to explain eunuchs, just in case our listeners don't know the term eunuch.
Eunuchs are men who have been through, how to say, a procedure wherein it now inhibits them to do any sexual activities.
And that is so that these men can operate within the harem of the king and yet not be able to plant
Impregnate.
their lineage
Yeah.
in the women of the king.
Okay, next few verses. So verse 9 kasi, Esther found favor with Haggai. But when she found favor with Haggai, pansin mo sa verse, it wasn't because she did anything. Haggai just
Oo, ano?
found favor with her. So
Without
parang
Esther doing
anything,
anything.
di ba?
that's
So you could either say na parang she's really, really pretty or... But
Charisma?
imagine mo from 127 provinces, ang daming harem. I'm sure there are other
Beautiful women.
beautiful women, but
Bakit si
why
Esther?
her of all that? Now, what are the chances,
All the
diba?
women,
Yeah.
si Esther.
Parang
ang
loto eh.
napaboran ni Haggai. Because the narration is very simple, very straightforward.
Yeah. Doesn't give us the inner thoughts of the
No,
characters.
no. Kaya nakakagulat. Ito na naman tayo sa theme na is God in this
Is
story.
God in this story?
May makikita ka eh. Kasi could these be mere coincidences?
So is it coincidence? But think about this.
Masyado marami ba? Yun?
Aside from Esther, can you think of biblical characters who got into a situation and just found favor with the people or favor from their captors?
Joseph.
Joseph, di ba?
Oo.
Yeah, with
Joseph just found favor. Parang,
Oo.
pak,
Pati dun sa kanyang nagbabantay.
Oh,
sa
diba?
prison
Jailer.
guard.
Ginawa pa nga siyang beadle, di ba? Parang,
oo nga eh. So parang, these guys, did they do anything to get favor?
Right.
Or was there an intervening factor
Oh, yeah.
so that the people of authority that mattered found
Yeah.
favor?
But we're still very early into the story. Di ba? Kaya nga minsan, habang binabasa mo to, hindi mo pa makikita eh. What is later on will be more obvious.
Right.
But here, we're already seeing hints.
Yeah, we'll see the build-up.
Okay, interesting tidbit.
ito yung Bible chismis.
Bible chismis. Hindi pa naman sobrang chismis ka, so semi. Do you know how long Esther or anyone who got into the harem had to stay in the harem before Xerxes would meet them? Diba dito it says they're put on all sorts of cosmetics and oils. That's
6 months with oil of myrrh and 6 with perfumes and cosmetics. That's in verse 12.
so that's
May mga
12
beauty
months.
treatments.
Yeah, that's a whole
Tapos
year.
may
One whole
12
year.
months, 12 months of beauty treatments.
That's nice.
So 12 so That's nice.
That's nice.
That's nice.
From a woman's perspective, mga naman ano.
Great, I didn't need to
Oo.
work.
Sa atin, gym ka ng gym, araw-araw.
But historians are saying and scholars are saying that there's another reason why it's 12 months. Because to make sure these women are not pregnant. So parang covered siya na, okay, di ba 9 months? But 12 months, para sure na.
We're just making sure.
Right.
Ano ba naman yung extra expense ng mga cosmetics?
So while waiting, yeah, you beautify, you make them look even better.
Okay.
All right.
And then next is...
And then next is, when she got chosen, let's go back to Mordecai. When she got chosen, Mordecai goes and tells Esther,
verse 10. Esther had not revealed her nationality and family background because Mordecai had forbidden her to do so.
Parang marami
That's
ng
very
palpak
interesting.
dito.
oh, this is very interesting, no? First of all, based on the Torah, the Jews are not allowed to get married to the Gentiles.
Right.
The fact that Mordecai, well, it didn't say here if they resisted, if Esther was forced or stuff like that, but the fact that
Mordecai was
Mordecai
pushing for it.
yeah, it's kind of pushing for it. Bawal ang Gentile spouse eh. Bawal to get married. Pagkaso, pinayagan niya. Secondly, the Torah also is very explicit that you never deny your race, who you are, because you guys are God's chosen people.
Right.
You are a
Oh,
covenant race, diba? But Mordecai told Esther,
Tago
quiet
mo.
lang don't tell them you're a Jew. There's a good reason, not a valid reason, okay? There's a good reason why Mordecai wouldn't want people to know they're Jews. They're a minority that time, diba? So exiled race sila, etc. Minority. So you can imagine anyone who's a minority, they get bullied all the time. They get ostracized.
Baka
and
yung chances niya na manalo
that
will
also would be a lot less,
Right.
diba?
Oo.
Racism
Kaya
right there.
siguro, wag mo na lang sabihin. But still, the fact that to join the harem, alam na naman natin ang ginagawa ng mga babae sa harem.
Yeah.
Isa lang naman ang purpose nun. Kaya dito pa lang makikita natin na parang hindi talaga napaka-ideal na characters itong
They're
si
not
Mordecai
the,
and Esther. No?
They're
Siya
not the
ideal
model
Jew.
Jews.
No.
Which is very interesting for this whole book kasi hindi perfect yung mga tao dito.
Nakaka-relate
Yeah, I
ako.
mean, everyone's, yeah.
You know, sometimes familiarity with the story, parang natatago niya yung truth. Eh dito,
Yeah, because we just take it for granted.
right.
After
Eh,
a
ako,
while,
lumaki
yeah.
ako na sa Sunday school when I was a kid. Parang kwento ni Esther, she's this ideal woman and
Yeah,
Mordecai
even
is
with
this
Mordecai,
hero. Oh, pero, ha? Biglang ngayon ko lang na-discover na ganito pala sila.
And actually, yung sinasabi nilang types and shadows of Christ, yung sinasabi nila si Mordecai is like a
Yeah, it's
Christ
like
figure
it's like
in-
a
A
reflection
type of
yeah.
Christ.
Oo.
Actually, hindi eh.
I'm not sure
Malabo.
about that.
And
Medyo
even
hindi rin ako nag-agree.
yeah, even Esther's like that ideal woman.
Yeah.
But no.
No.
I mean, she isn't evil, but she isn't like the ideal woman either.
Immoral eh.
As
Yeah.
what the
She's involved
DVDs would present, di ba?
Yeah, right.
Di makabasag
Immoral.
pinggan eh.
yeah.
Yung
I
ganun.
never knew. I'm the one freshest from Sunday school. And
Okay.
I never heard about this version of Esther.
Oh, I mean, we'll find out on the next few verses what she actually signed up for.
Right.
So yun.
So, sana tayo? We are now in...
Verse 13.
We're now in verse 13.
Okay.
It says here, when the young woman went in to the king in this way, she was given what she desired to take with her from the harem to the king. The thing here is, kung turn mo na to meet the king, you can get objects from the harem to bring with you. We're not exactly sure what
Kung
these
ano yung mga-
objects are supposed to be. It's not mentioned here, so it's not emphasized here. But the interesting thing that Esther did was, so verse 15, Esther didn't ask for anything, but went up to Haggai and instead asked Haggai
For a suggestion. Ano bang
to suggestion.
Ano mas magandang dalhin ko pagpunta ko dun sa king? Ano bang ibig sabihin ng pupunta dun sa king? What does that exactly mean?
Which is in verse 14.
Oh.
diba? Let me just read that. In the evening, she would go there, and in the morning return to another part of the harem to the care of Shazgaz.
Shazgaz.
She would not return to the king unless he was pleased with her and summoned her by name. So overnight, dun sa
overnight,
private quarters ni king.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
mag-overnight lang.
Yep.
Siya dun sa...
Share ng feeling siguro.
ganyan.
Paint your nails.
Oh, ito na yun.
Maybe cross-stitch.
Cross-stitch sila ng king. Ganun.
Braid your hair.
Pero dito pa lang medyo tama ba itong nababasa ko tungkol sa ginagawa ni Esther, some member of the harem? Hindi maganda no?
To put it bluntly, the harem is really there to
To
provide sexual services to the
To the
king.
king,
And
yeah.
that's like one time, your one chance at pleasing the king
and getting his attention.
and getting his attention so that you can get a call back.
Oh, my audition pa lang pala ito.
audition siya.
My goodness. Ibebenta mo na talaga lahat.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about this one. Kasi another reminder that the characters in the Bible are not perfect people.
Yeah, they're flawed,
None
just
of them
like
perfect.
us.
They're
I mean,
far from perfect.
Like David, whenever we talk about David, it's always David the great king, David the giant slayer. Pero parang nawala yung part about womanizer or terrible dad. Terrible dad,
Yeah,
right?
he's a terrible
Yeah.
dad.
He was terrible dad.
Yeah.
And then, or Solomon, wisdom. Pero we kind of skip the part about
He's
him.
being tyrannical, di ba?
Oh, sa dulo, parang si Pharaoh na siya eh.
Oh.
Yeah.
by the end of his
Slaves,
life. And then he
ganyan,
even tried to assassinate yung chosen ni God after him
Right.
because he worshipped all of the other gods na.
Kaya nga dito sa Bible ka naka-highlight yung verse 14 na yan dahil dito talaga ako nagulat eh. In the evening, she would go there. And in the morning, may nangyari nga.
So finally, the night came. They spent the night together.
Okay.
And the thing with the harem is that, a bit background lang. There are two harems. First harem are the virgins. After the women have spent the night with the king, they go to the second harem. The second harem are the no longer virgins.
Okay.
All right.
Kasi nagamit na ng
Kasi
king.
nagamit na ng king.
Nagamit na.
So pag nasa second harem ka, you will never see the king ever again unless he calls for you.
Actually, interesting because I read somewhere the ones who never see the king live the rest of their lives like widows.
Yeah. You're just stuck there.
Yeah, you're stuck there.
Prisoner ka. Yeah, you're just stuck in the second harem and you just live your life until you can't have family, you can't have anything else.
Oh.
That's sad.
I never thought of it that way. Na. I mean, you're treated with luxury and stuff, but you're there, you're stuck.
So this isn't a parang a very nice beauty pageant after all.
No, no.
The king met her for the night. The good thing here is that in verse 17, the king loved Esther more than all the women, and she won grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. She got chosen. So here is another favorable thing she got into, diba? The king celebrated, made a feast for all his officials and servants because there's no queen.
Yeah.
So parang parade to, diba? Parang wedding thing, like, oh, we now have a queen. Then after saying that, biglang jump siya. Verse 19, now when the virgins were gathered the second time, meaning a fair bit of time has passed, they're still gathering virgins for whatever reason.
Okay, so ibig sabihin lumampas na to nun sa standard na treatment period. Mukhang lumampas pa.
So may at least 1 year after na naman to, di ba?
Alam ko rin, from what I read, kasi nanalo na eh. Pero syempre, I'm sure there are ulterior motives to have like a relative become the queen, diba? So
Okay.
alam ko, like itong second line na to is like mga hopefuls na hopefully baka magbago pa isip ni Xerxes. Kasi there's a lot of power.
Hopefully magbago isip niya.
Oo.
Get a
Na,
different queen?
yeah, or something. Kasi that's another tumatawad pa na, wait, try this one. Maybe this is gonna work. Parang ganun.
Ibig sabihin talagang napaka-political pala nito. No?
Yeah, it is a political
Kanya-kanyang,
seat, yeah.
you have your own bet na
Yeah.
Yeah.
dapat ang manalo. And
Iba't
because
ibang-
if you're related to that woman, then of course
Lakas
you will...
mo.
Oo, magkakaroon ka rin ng political connections.
Right.
Maraming political agenda.
Then it mentions here that Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate. Now, king's gate. What do we know about king's gate here in Susa, the citadel? The king's gate is in the inner city, inner portion of Susa. Kumbaga nasa inner palace na siya. For a person to be sitting in a king's gate, it's not to say natambay yung tao. You are there because you have an official position.
Right.
Inner palace na to eh.
Kumbaga, club members lang ang pwede.
Club members na ang pwede. So scholars are saying that the only way Mordecai could be there at the king's gate is when or if he has an official job. May position na siya. Now he's sitting there at the gate. Verse 20 basically says that Mordecai told Esther to keep quiet again
Right.
about their Jewish
Right.
lineage.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
ni-emphasize again dito. In-emphasize something that they shouldn't be doing.
And just to remind our listeners, whenever something is repeated in the Bible,
That means it's an important information.
that means it's an important tidbit. Kasi wala naman silang bold, underline, di ba? Change font. Wala naman silang ganun nung time na sinusulat nila to eh. So inuulit-ulit nila.
Yeah, ito naulit na naman itong reminder ni Mordecai not to reveal her ethnic
Identity.
or her ethnic identity
Right.
or ethnicity.
Which means it's very important.
Right, that she keeps quiet.
So, after reminding her na hush-hush lang that we're Jews,
He just so happens to hear a plot.
to kill King Xerxes in verse 21. Just so happens to hear a plot.
Conveniently.
Yeah. Diba? Parang of all places narinig niya. Imagine this. Would he have been able to know of the plot if he wasn't in an official position?
Probably not.
Probably not,
Yeah.
diba?
It's a bit weird though that they were talking about killing the king while they were in the palace.
Well, they're not very careful. Marami naman maski sa office, bigla na lang nagchichismisan, pero hindi nila alam na...
I'm sure you've seen that in some comedy.
Or, I mean, the fact that Prissy brought up na Esther was quiet about her relation with Mordecai, they wouldn't have thought that Mordecai
It's
is very...
actually important.
Yeah, it was actually that important to the queen. Kasi siguro hindi pa nila alam yung connection with the queen. Eh.
Yeah.
It could have been that they were careless.
Nag-wrong text ng assassination plot.
Di ba?
Ay, sorry.
Wrong send po.
Wrong send po.
Wrong send pala. That happens.
So now that Mordecai knows, automatically, anong ginawa niya? So sinabi niya kay Esther.
Interesting point here is he just happened
Happened
to be
know.
there.
Happened to be there, yeah. What are the chances, diba?
Overhearing this conversation between Teresh and Bigtana at the gate. He just happened to be there? Did he really just happen to be there? Yan ang interesting dito sa Book of Esther. May mga coincidences. Which later we will really see that it's clearly God orchestrating things.
Assassination plots against kings in this time were not that strange to hear.
Especially for Xerxes, because people hate him na at this point.
Actually,
Yeah.
465 BC, he got assassinated in his bedroom by one of his own guys, the Kiliarch Artabanos. It's a cool name, Artabanos.
Yeah, it is a cool
Transformers, diba? Parang?
Okay, and Kiliarch means a commander of 1,000. So this could be one of his generals.
Generals.
Yeah.
Possibly.
And you know, he's been messing with the generals' wives diba,
Yun.
earlier on.
That could be the motivation
Yeah.
for the assassination.
Yeah.
So after discovering the plot, it ends abruptly.
That's verse 22 and 23, where they reported it and they
And
gave
then-
credit to Mordecai and then sinulat dun sa...
Book of the Chronicles.
After impaling the two dudes.
Yeah.
So na-record naman yung ginawa ni Mordecai.
Take note, it was written in the book of the Chronicles in the presence of the king. So alam talaga niya kung
Okay, alam na alam to ni Xerxes.
who saved him.
Right. Alam ko, this is Mordecai and it's even recorded. This is well documented.
And yet,
Yet we'll find out in chapter 3.
actually, the funny thing here is he wasn't rewarded right off the bat.
No, there's
Yeah, he
no
wasn't.
record of rewarding.
You save the
He wasn't
king.
given recognition.
You save the king. It was written there in the book of the in the Chronicles of great works
To the king.
to the
Yeah.
king in the presence of the king. And yet, walang reward yung
Which is really odd kasi sa old Persian Empire, the kings would want to reward
Yeah.
these deeds kasi it encourages loyalty among his ranks,
More
among his
PR.
subjects. Yeah, more PR as well. But here, for whatever
May
reason,
oversight.
may oversight. Siguro bangag na naman to.
or actually in following the thought that God works through coincidences nga. Sometimes we think na pag God works through coincidences, it's like always a good thing.
yeah, parang
Parang, oy, coincidence that, and then it led you to an open door agad. Pero sometimes maybe the coincidence is actually a closed door.
yeah.
Kita mo dito sa kwentong to, ang dami nang coincidences.
Yeah, how many
eh.
coincidences do we see here?
Probably more than like, I think
Kasi
there
na
were
una
five.
nakita
I think there are
natin
5.
Kay Haggai.
during the beauty pageant.
Esther being chosen. Yeah, being
Favored
chosen.
by Haggai. Tapos siya
Favored
yung
by the king.
favored by the king. Tapos yung-
Mordecai hearing about the plot.
Oo.
And none of this would have happened if Queen Vashti did not disobey Xerxes. Take note of the coincidences. What the coincidences entailed these people to do. It entailed them to do not so good things, diba?
Yes.
But even so, that these are not so good things, we see here that Mordecai, kahit papano, he was now written in the Book of Chronicles. And why is he? What's the significance there? And now Esther is queen. Now, what is the significance there?
What is God planning?
Yeah, what is God planning now? Diba? It is very interesting. There's a build-up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we will find out in
Pero
the next
gusto ko
few
munang
chapters.
tanungin yung grupo. Meron na bang nangyari sa inyong para mga ganito na they seemed like they're mere coincidences, but looking back, in hindsight, this is God's orchestration.
Well, sa akin, yung one of my stories, because 2008 was a really bad year for me. Probably one of the worst years of my life. And then somewhere around the end of 2008, I was browsing through National Bookstore. Tapos may nakita akong book called Yes Man.
Okay.
Na pagka hindi ko binasa yung libro, tinignan ko lang yung likod. Tapos parang interesting lang yung premise na there's a guy who just said yes to all of the opportunities that he was faced
Presented
with.
to him.
Oo. Tapos yes lang siya ng yes. And that opened up his world. Parang noong 2000, sabi ko, 2009, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say yes. I mean, with a certain moral standard naman, ano. Pero like party na wala akong kilala. Oh my gosh, party na wala akong kilala. Pero punta pa rin ako. And then
Okay.
it led to great friendships, new experiences,
Right.
some seminars, and then mountain outdoor activities na almost got me killed. Parang ganun. Pero somewhere around 2009, somebody invited me to go to a Christian church. And I'm like, oh man, I have to say yes. Because that's my rule. I have to say yes
Right.
to you know, and wala
Things that are
naman-
good anyway.
things that are, you know, hindi naman drugs or whatever. O sige, yes ako. Which apparently was the start of my journey in Christ.
With God. Okay.
All because of browsing the sales section of National Bookstore. And there's hundreds of books there.
Right.
And for some reason, I picked up that one.
Yes. Strange, no? Oh, pero doon mo nakita. In hindsight, this led me to the Lord. Ikaw ba, Prissy, do you have an experience like that as well?
Yeah, actually, I just came from America, and how I got there is an interesting story. Because I'm a college student, so we have to do research. Before, we were just like, okay, let's do this research. And then our group mate shared na she wanted to do research on mouth guard use of the PBA players. We were like, okay, let's do this research. And then we were just fulfilling the steps of making a research from proposal to the hardbound copy to defending it. And then our profs were encouraging us na, oh, you can like submit your abstracts to this contest. Umabot kami when we just finished defending. Yun yung deadline nung day itself
Oh.
to submit for a contest. And then we were like, oh yan, so abot pa tayo. Let's submit. And then they accepted us. We competed locally muna. So we competed with other schools. I think there were 27 of us.
Wow.
By God's grace, nalo kami first place. Tapos we were
Wow.
surprised because the other schools were experimental, and we were like, oh, we're just survey.
Yeah.
Pero ang dami namin pinagdaanan din. We were so surprised kasi yung upper years namin sa UP, they tied for second place. And then we were like, oh, okay, so we're not hoping too much. And then sinabi na, oh, mahaba yung title ng nalo. And then we're like, oh, our title is long. Kami nga pala. We were chosen to represent the Philippines for the Southeast Asian competition. So we competed against Hong Kong, Singapore, Vietnam, Malaysia. Nung tinatawag, we thought another country was going to win because the research on a different topic was very good. And then we're like, oh, okay, we're just happy to be here. And then tinawag kami and we're like, wow, Lord, where are you taking us with this? We were just fulfilling our requirements before. And then we were chosen to present our research sa American Association for Dental Research. So we were like, wow, from just doing college requirements, God brought us to so many places, meet so many different kinds of people, and be interested in the different fields now.
Wonderful.
So nakapag Disneyland ka pa.
Oh, this the real reason we were
Yun ang highlight ng lahat eh. Disneyland.
And I think that's the beauty of it, na we just don't know the small things that God is doing in our life that will actually be part of a big thing. But as to what that big thing is in Esther, we'll find out in the next few chapters.
Yeah. See you in chapter 3.
See you in chapter 3.
See you.